Lieutenant Gregg, Chask Cowherd. I got the acreage.
I know who you are, Mr. Coward.
Got this paper for Captain Quantrill. Bad news about Perry Hoy.
I'll get it to him.
Well, you got news?
They shot Perry Hoy.
Hoy?
Federals up at Leavenworth put him in front of a squad.
Who's Perry Hoy?
One of Captain Quantrill's first recruits. Federals captured him at Tate's house last March. Captain's been trying to exchange him for some of our prisoners. They shot him out of spite.
Or so.
Captain's not gonna be too happy about this.
Hey, this means we gotta ride. Do it not? Do it not?
Shut your mouth up, Ira.
Lieutenant?
Yep, Quantrill. That farmer, Coward, brought this. And,
Give this to Andy Blood. Saddle him out, boys! We're riding to Kansas.
what's the plan, Captain?
We're going to Kansas to kill 10 men to avenge poor Perry.
Well, what's it read?
Orders for Andy to kill that federal officer and 2 men we have prisoner.
I told you he was gonna ride! I told you!
On September 5th, 1862, William Clarke Quantrill, with 150 men, set out from their camp near Lee's Summit, Missouri, to avenge the death of Perry Hoy. Their sights were set on Olathe, Kansas. The Kansas-Missouri Border War began in 1854. This conflict on the border did not stop once the Civil War began in 1861. William Clarke Quantrill was a brilliant military tactician and competent leader, and by 1861 he had organized civilian men into a band of well-armed and deadly guerrillas. Bloody Bill Anderson, Frank and Jesse James, and Cole Younger are just a few of the more notable names to ride under Quantrill. Years before, Quantrill had staked a claim to some land near Olathe and knew the town well. Near midnight on September 6th, Quantrill and his men had reached the outskirts of Olathe. They had already killed 10 men. Frank Cook and brothers John and James Judy were among the dead.
Captain, militia's already formed in the square. Must have got wind of us coming. Civilians are unaware.
Take 60 men, form a cordon around the town. No one in or out, Lieutenant.
Yes, sir. Come on.
All right, boys. Right in. File left and right. Take immediate possession of the town. Harm no women or children. And kill only if resisted. Let's ride.
Steady, boys!
Drop your weapons. Your town is cordoned off. Surrender and you will not be harmed. You, drop your musket.
Royce, drop it. They will kill you.
right, boys. Olathe is yours.
Throughout the night, Quantrill's men loot and destroy the town. A young militiaman by the name of Josiah Skinner was known to be a heavy sleeper. When he would not wake, a raider shot him through the back. Josiah died a few days later from the wound. All men old enough to carry a weapon were captured and placed in the corral.
Ezra Robinson. Judge Robinson. Come out here, I want to talk to you.
Ezra Robinson was a judge from Paola, Kansas, and former acquaintance of Quantrill. He happened to be in Olathe the night of the raid.
It is good to see you again, Judge.
Well, Bill, I certainly would like a visit from you under different circumstances.
Judge, in respect to my commission from the Confederate government, I would suggest that you refer to me as Captain.
I beg your pardon, Captain. Your men have made quite a mess of things. They've taken my horse, and it was a favored horse.
I'll see what I can do to get your horse back. But for the rest of the evening, I would suggest as a former acquaintance of mine, you stay close to me.
This is surely an appalling event. I've heard of your recent exploits, and I could hardly believe it. I know you, sir, from your days teaching in Stanton as a Union man, but now I've seen with my own eyes.
I do have my reasons and my convictions. And I will not put my feet up and smoke a pipe while Kansans occupy Missouri. And neither will these boys. They've seen their farms destroyed and their property stolen.
Have not the people of Kansas fared the same? You fight this injustice with injustice? I see no difference in the actions your men have taken tonight. Am I to answer their actions with violence myself? Never. And I know that there are other men with Southern sympathies on the other side of the border who would concur with me.
It is true there are fair men on both sides of the border, and I know you to be one, sir. But Jim Lane, Pinnock, Jennison, these are not honorable men, and their actions will only be met with the hand of fire.
I fear for you, Captain. Your fire will only be met with a ferocious inferno from Kansas.
Then all that is left for us to do is draw our pistols.
Quantrill and Robinson continued their conversation into the morning hours. Robinson survived the raid and became one of Paola's most prominent citizens. By early morning on September 7th, Quantrill and his men had finished their raid. They led the men they had captured out onto the prairie and headed south. Olathe was ravaged. Both Olathe newspapers were destroyed, people's fortunes and valuables taken away by the raiders. Olathe would not be the same until the end of the Civil War. That morning, Jonathan Milliken, one of Olathe's first settlers, found an item dropped by one of the raiders. It was thought to be a small flag, but is more likely a Victorian bookmark. It is the only surviving artifact from the raid.
You in charge of these men?
Yes, Mr. Quantrill.
I don't know you. What's your name?
William Pellet.
Well, Mr. Pellet, I've been contemplating whether or not to shoot you.
Well, Captain, what conclusion have you come to?
I've come to the conclusion not to kill you. I left the border with the intention of killing 10 men, and I've filled my bill. Now, my men and I, we're about to leave this place, and when we do, you take your men, go home and stay put.
I can do that, Captain.
You go home and be good boys.
Let's go home, gentlemen.
After the raid, William Pellet would be appointed lieutenant of the 12th Kansas Regiment and would later become Olathe's first mayor. William Clarke Quantrill would ride into infamy a year later with the raid on Lawrence, Kansas. Quantrill met his end in 1865 when he was killed by Federal soldiers in Kentucky. Unknown to most, Johnson County has remembered this raid each year. The Old Settlers celebration was created partly as a memorial to the Quantrill-Olathe raid of 1862. The annual event is always held on the weekend following September 6th, the date of Quantrill's raid on Olathe.